I also thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. It's a beautiful day here where I'm at, and I'm in Europe right now, so on your time zone almost.
Yeah, it's really nice here in the UK as well. It's like about 21 degrees, so it's a nice and sunny day. Yeah, I really appreciate you joining me in this podcast episode, and yeah, super excited to talk more about how we can manage self-sabotaging and like how is it impacting our life. And we're gonna have like a more discussion on that. So before we get into the topic, I'd love to know more about you. What have you been up to, and like how did you get into like a coaching business?
Oh boy, a lot of questions, but I'll try to answer all of them as well as I can.
Sure.
So I think I'll just start from the very beginning. I'm born and raised in Denmark. Now live in the U.S. I actually live in Scottsdale, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And along my long journey, I worked as in corporate, as an entrepreneur, both for entrepreneurs and as an entrepreneur myself. About a little over 4 years ago, I came to this point and saying, am I living effectively? Am I really living the life that I want to live? Right. Or am I living by somebody else's rules? And the question was, no, I wasn't. So I started doing some personal development, which I hadn't really done a lot of prior to that. And I just think my current career found me, not the other way around. It was like that moment where you said, this is why I'm here on earth. And one of the things basically came from that perspective of we are so good at looking for all the answers outside of ourselves. What are we supposed to be happy about? What are we supposed to feel successful with? What are we supposed to, how are we supposed to look? What are we supposed to eat? What are we supposed to wear? Mm-hmm. All these kind of things. And I started realizing we are very, very bad at self-regulating that. And It's because we sabotage. It's because the motivation, we lose the true sense of essence of who we are and how we live, and that it serves the way we want to show up in the world.
Yeah. So like you've been working with a lot of individuals and their growth and a lot on their personal development side as well. So like tell us a little bit about like what does it actually mean as like self-sabotaging? Like a lot of people don't know. They just know the word, but it doesn't really explain to them like what it actually is and how is it affecting our life.
Oh, absolutely. So I used a lot of time the framework positive intelligence framework with my clients, and that's really based on that we all have a combination of 9 different saboteurs inside of us, and they're all based in our natural strengths.
Right.
So a lot of the people that I work with are very goal-oriented, focused people. They really want to achieve things in life. But when you become hyperachiever, that you get sabotaged, when you get hijacked in that mode, then, as I mentioned before, you start doing things for the external rewards, for the material things, for the maybe like, if I don't do this, I'm a big fat failure. If I don't achieve this, I'm not going to look good in the public. My image is going to be. So it's not coming from that internal motivation and satisfaction of knowing, oh, this is amazing. I really love doing this. But no matter what that happened, me as a person, that is never going to change.
Right. Yeah. And so it's basically like we are caring about like what other people's judgment are, like how other people are thinking, like our achievement or something. It's not entirely like we are happy about it or not, like choosing some kind of career to just to show like I'm making 6-figure salary or like 7-figure salary, wherever the case is, but not actually entirely I'm happy doing the job just because of I want to show other people like I can be a success, right?
Exactly. And it goes in a lot of other areas too. It could be like if you're a kind, compassionate kind of person, right? Mm-hmm. When you get sabotaged and become self-sabotaging there, then it's like you are so overly giving, you are so overly pleasing other people that you totally neglect your own needs. You totally have no boundaries. Mm-hmm. And that is a symptom of self-sabotage too. That if somebody, asks you, to get their kids or to do this project that's really not within your responsibility area, and you immediately drop everything you have and go do what other people want you to, rather than saying, you know what, I'll happy to help you, but let me look at my schedule. Let me see when it's actually fitting into my world and see if that meshes, right?
Yeah. So how does this like someone actually know themselves, like they actually self-sabotaging, or like they just going for the growth? So that could be like a two different thing, right? Like if looking for the growth on like career, business, or relationship, or like just doing it for sake of like other people, like a validity, like I'm a success or I'm doing it for like XYZ.
Well, especially one of the things like the high achiever, right? That they really want to like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. They will have many sleepless nights. You know, their stress level will be so high, and they will go through the laundry list of things that needs to be accomplished, the deadlines, the this, the that, and they can never really find that rest of saying it's always that next big thing. It's the next big thing. It really constantly is raising their stress levels extremely. Like the pleaser, I said, it can almost start becoming resentment. Oh, these people are always asking me to do stuff. It's always other people. You know, I never have a minute to myself. You know, those type of emotions, once they start popping up as, habitual thoughts, chances are you are hijacked.
Yeah. So I had the same kind of problem when I started my marketing agency in 2017. First 3 years, I couldn't have like sleep. I had like proper insomnia because I'm so excited about like doing things and just living in the future, right? Just gonna have like X amount of clients, gonna make X amount of money by the time this year, next year, and just couldn't sleep and restless nights. And also like instead of focusing my day-to-day activity, I'll just more focus on what's gonna future look like, right? And having the kind of anxiety and restlessness that kept you awake all night. So I experienced that. So in terms of like how can you actually manage that, like a situation, like how do you can put yourself in a position, right? I'm happy, I'm content with where I'm at. I need to focus on the growth as well, but not like beating myself up, not going for like extreme, right?
Sure. The first is simply the awareness. You can't fix what you can't see, right? It's like having an invisible enemy.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't really realize that we are in that mode.
It's true.
Because it seems so common to us.
Yeah.
And it seems like, you know, why do I need to change? Especially for high achievers, because I work a lot with them. And one of the reasons are that I personally feel that it is awesome that you want to create something better for yourself, for your family, for the world, create that impact. But I would like for you to do it in a way that doesn't completely drain you, ruin your health and everything. So once you start becoming that way, like you said, if you have too many sleepless nights, right? If your doctors may be telling you, hey, your blood pressure is going up and going up, and there's no physical real reasons why, when all those things starts popping up on your radar, maybe your spouse or your people you care for, that they are saying, hey, you never have time for us. You start cutting out things in your life that's not important, that is important to you, but you always feel like, oh, I just got to do this next thing. I just got to do this next thing. So once you have that awareness, then, you sort of need to stop in that moment and realize, oh boy, I got here again. I'm still hijacked. What do I do now? A simple thing like just completely relaxing your body, taking a couple of deep breaths can, first of all, lower your blood pressure, can lower your anxiety level. And then it's easier to step back and take that discerning, decision. What is really important right now? What is my next step? Is this really important? Is it urgent? How do I, like you were saying, it's that next thing, right? Saying, okay, oh, maybe it's not my job to do this. Maybe I could delegate this out. Maybe I could do, once you have that little bit calmer, more relaxed mind, you are actually able to start doing something about it.
Yeah. And we see like often all the time right now is like in a social media era, influencers, like lots of coaches, consultant, motivational speakers, like go for a big thing, go for next thing, like do more and achieve more, work hard, and all stuff like making in a chaotic moment. Like that's why we've been keep on chasing for materialistic thing, next car, next house, next position on the certain area of our life. How do I know when is like enough is enough? Like everyone got there enough, right? Like probably you love to travel and you like to go different places. You want to work 2-3 hours a day. It's up to you. It depends like what type of business you want. And there is no like a point you building $1 billion business where you have to work 60-80 hours a week. This is maybe not your passion. So when someone actually can realize like this is me, this is I want my create my business and life like how I want it, not like what society or influencers or coach or consultant been telling me to do.
The first thing, again, like I went back to before, the awareness, because if you constantly see yourself saying, I'll be happy when I get to that point, I can take that vacation, when I have this, when.
Yeah.
Because then you get to that bigger house. Now what?
Yeah.
Do you want a bigger one?
Yeah.
You know, a faster car, a bigger boat, more money in the bank? Then you're always constantly chasing. You're not truly enjoying, right? There's not, believe me, I'm not faulting people for wanting material things and enjoying life in that sense, but make sure that your spirit, your soul is part of it too, because that's what, you know, I think most of us, we get true enjoyment out of impacting another person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember one time somebody told me we work so hard to fit into a certain mold.
Yeah.
And then when we get in that mold, it's because we really wanted people to accept us the way we are.
Yeah, sure.
It starts with that self-acceptance, saying, as long as I can be myself in this space, in what I am now, and I can connect with people who truly understands and appreciate me for who I am. You know, if I'm busy, that's who I am, but I would have time to sit down with you, have a cup of tea if you're my friend, and we can really connect, right? So for me, a lot of times I talk to my clients about that we need to find your soul currency and bring that more into your life. Not just the bank account, not just the outside stuff, but what truly fills your heart and gives you that sense of, I have a bigger purpose. I'm creating the impact that I want.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. You need to find out like why you're doing what you actually do, right? Just like you mentioned, you said before, like a self-awareness, like you need to know like why you're actually doing it, the thing you're doing. And is it because it's aligned with your purpose, your goal, your vision, or just doing it for the sake of you doing it? And we eventually go into the rat race, like keep on chasing the next thing. And we tend to forget like what abundance we have in the current day at the moment. Probably you have your spouse, your children, you have a great business which is thriving, but you're thinking about like next level of your business. Probably the children, when they're going to grow up, you have a grandchild, instead of like being in the present moment and enjoy like your children, they are kids right now, spend the time with them. When the grandchildren comes, then you can focus on them, the next thing, right? So like if someone you get a client and they comes to you and they self-sabotaging themselves for years, what's the first step you take, or like a process you take in order to get out of them self-sabotaging problem they're having?
We start with a saboteur assessment, really figuring out which one of those 9 basic saboteurs they sort of is their highest one that gets hijacked. And it's a very simple assessment. It's not like an IQ test or anything like
Yeah.
that, or Myers-Briggs, or any of the other DISC assessment. This is truly saying, how do you perceive life right now in this moment, the way you live, right? So it really helps you pinpoint the stress factors that gets agitated for you. And once we have that picture, then we start working on saying, so let's take a look at how does that really show up in your life? How do we help you see when you are becoming hijacked? When do we see when it really becomes most apparent to you? And there's a couple of ways to do that. Either I sometimes work with my clients in an 8-week program that is where there's daily exercises, there's content, and in the one-on-one coaching. So that's one way we work with it. And some other people of my clients, we may do it in groups, or it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, so it's like a long-term process, right? It's not going to be like a quick fix. It takes time in order to make the changes.
Yeah, most of the clients that I work with, they've been in business for quite a few years, 5 to 8 years probably on average, right? I typically say it's when the honeymoon is over.
Yeah.
When reality hits and say, I can't run any faster, but I want more, right? Yeah. So it's years in the making of getting to this point. So thinking that you can fix it overnight is a little bit unrealistic. Yeah. It's almost like going to the gym for the first time. You cannot lift up a 100-pound weight and start curling, right? Sure. You need to start with a small one and see, okay, I'm building up that mental fitness or emotional fitness muscle for me to create the life that I want.
Yeah, totally agree on that. So yes, it's a small process and takes time. We have to train our brain, how we're training our body, right, for like a muscle growth. Yeah. So like after you like making the shift to your clients, probably takes 3 months or 6 months, depending whether every individual is different. What type of changes do you see on them, like after they can manage their self-sabotaging behavior? And what kind of, do their performance get better? Do you think the life get better? What type of changes do you see?
Well, I just recently was engaged with a client, and she had a very successful business. She was working with big brand names of what she did. She wasn't realizing she was get self-sabotage in defining success. What was success to her? Where her stress factors were, the companies that she worked with was not in congruence with how she wanted to live her life. She was a very sustainable, farm to table, that type of living in her life, but that was not reflected in what she did in her business. So she never felt that deep connection. She loved her work, but not how it was represented in the world. And after we worked together, she started realizing that it wasn't necessary for her to work with those big brands. There was plenty of companies out there that does amazing, beautiful things in the world, that does sustainability, that does, consider the environment, that does consider, all the things that was deeply, deeply important to her. Yeah. And in the short time that we worked together, she started getting appointments with those clients to present her work. And she just felt so invigorated knowing that, oh, I truly can make success in a way that fulfills me. And it did not feel draining going into saying, oh, no, not another polluter company that I'm going to make branding for, right?
Yeah.
And, in your area of marketing, I'm sure you can relate to that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The more passionate you are about the clients that you work with, what they put out in the world, the much better you do.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's come to individual thing, right? It depends like how people are taking it in. So like with our listeners, like a majority of our listeners, like entrepreneurs and business owners, small to medium-sized business owners, even though myself, and I told you like I had this sleepless night for like over 3 years now. So if I want to get like some kind of advice from you, what kind of advice would you give me, like helping me getting out of my self-sabotaging moment, and our audience can learn from that as well?
The very first thing, as I briefly mentioned before, start taking 2-3 tiny breaks throughout the day, even when you feel the most stressed, and just sit in your chair, take a couple of really deep breaths where you truly concentrate on it going, down your throat, filling your lungs, in your solar plexus, in your stomach. You have to breathe so deeply that you actually feel the expansion of your stomach.
Right.
Because a lot of us, we breathe just in the top here and we never actually connect with our bodies.
Makes sense.
And it's that mind-body connection that is so important in order to reduce your stress levels and help you go from this survival brain kind of constant mode to a more sage, wise mind and saying, okay, let me take a look at this one more time. If you can start there, as I said, 2 to 3 times during the day, you would be amazed of how it actually invigorates you and make you more productive.
Yeah, thank you. And do you advise like having like any kind of journal or like writing down like what I'm stressing about or like thinking about, is it worth it? Or do you have any kind of formula like that? Or
journaling is beautiful if you use it for reflection.
Okay.
Don't use it as another checkoff point, because I've seen that too. Clients says, oh, I meditate. Yeah, I said, but do you really meditate? Or do you just have it as a to-do item on your, in your diary?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has to be meaningful to you. It has to be an activity that helps you disengage your busy mind. Right. So you just free flow, not even thinking about that it has to be correct grammatically or make sense, even if you read it tomorrow. It is just that free flow. If that doesn't do it for you, maybe going for a really strenuous run, if that does that for you. It's that ability to sort of clear the system that is really important. Whatever activity you engage in that will, again, create the body-mind connection, because that's what's so important. We almost live outside ourselves many times.
Yeah. Do you think like having a self-sabotage actually affects our health, mental health, or like a physical health?
I am positive.
It does, right?
Because science have actually proved that once we're able to reduce, as I said, that survival part of the flight and fight hormones, that is what gives us the stress. And we all know what all those cortisol levels can do to our heart, our digestion. And the more and more people, do research about it, even your gut bacteria is helping you or, sabotaging you. And it's simply because we are so rushed many times.
Yeah, so true. So yeah, also we are coming to the end of this podcast episode. So yeah, those who's listening, if they want to reach out to you and know more about your work or like get some kind of advice or consultation, what's the best place to find you?
The best place to find me is on LinkedIn, actually. I do have a website, but LinkedIn is my place to hang out. Thus, because I'm working well with a lot of entrepreneurs. Yeah. And I'm under Elsa Johnson Coaching on LinkedIn. Right. If any of your listeners feel like, oh, I really want to connect with her, I always offer people a 30-minute free of charge, complete consultation to see, what's going on with them. Am I the right person to help them going forward? Or, can I direct them to tools that might be really beneficial for them in this moment? And they can do that by either reaching out to me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'd like to connect with you. Or they can email me at elsa@morethanjustfine.com. And my name is spelled ELSE. And that's also my website. It's being reworked as we speak. So it's not the best, but they'll get to me one way or the other. So I always love to talk with people.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's a pleasure like you coming to the show and giving some valuable lesson on the self-sabotaging and helping us through. So I really appreciate it for everything. So I hope you have a wonderful day, rest of the year. And yeah, have a wonderful day ahead.
Oh, you too as well. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. So you know how to find Elsa. Go her website and visit. Also, you can check her on her LinkedIn and reach out to her if you need any advice or any consultation. She's going to give you like a half an hour free consultation as well. And so till then, talk to you in the next episode. Stay safe, stay healthy.